and welcome to week 4, day 28 of Man versus Violin. So I'm in my 4th week now of playing the violin. I've managed to practice every day a little bit so far, even on days that I work. So I work 12-hour shifts. When I come home, I'm kind of tired, but I still try to put in a little bit of time practicing the violin. So some of the things that have happened in the last week is I replaced the bridge on my violin. So this is a Teller bridge. It's a German-made bridge. It sits a little bit lower than the original bridge that came with the violin. So the violin is a Cecilio violin. It's their 300 series. And honestly, I really like the violin. I think it sounds really good for the price I paid for it, and I'm happy with the violin. Just as a musician, musicians always have to change something or tinker with something. So I did put on a different bridge, and I think it did make a difference to the sound. The violin seems, at least to my ear, it sounds a lot fuller. You'll also notice that I removed one of the training wheels. I removed one of the fine tuners, the one on the G string. So I'm slowly trying to remove the fine tuners, except for the one on the E string, and get to where I can tune the strings just using the tuning peg. So I'm starting right now with just the G string. So in the future, I'm going to remove the other two as well, with the A and D strings as well. I also ordered some stuff from Fiddlershop, which is a violin store. It's a string store. I ordered a composite bow, and I like this bow a lot. It feels a lot lighter than the bow that came with the violin. The Cecilio bow that came with the violin is fine. I didn't have any problems with it, but I like the composite bow also. So this week I've been trying to work on using all 4 fingers and really being aware of how I position my arm. And I've been really working on making my right hand fluid. Honestly, it's taken a while to get comfortable holding the violin bow. And I don't think I'm holding it 100% correctly, but I feel like the action is a lot smoother. So songs I've been practicing that I've been trying to really improve on. And the first one is, out of the Suzuki book, is Song of the Wind. So that's the one that's been giving me a little trouble with the fingering between the E and A string. So the movement between the A and the E string you can tell that's for me it's still a difficult movement, but it sounds a lot better than it did a week ago, and I'm kind of happy with the way I've been kind of improving through that one. Another thing I've been working on, I've been using the book that came with the Cecilio violin also, and that's the Mel Bay book. And it's a good book also. It's got some good pieces. And there's a song on this one, lesson 4, the Russian dance tune. And that's also got some tricky fingering, also transitioning between the E and the A string. So this is also kind of a little tricky one for me. So that one's my new one that I'm trying to conquer this week. So again, it's moving between the E and the A string. But I think that it just takes time, but I'm feeling more comfortable holding the instrument. So even more than a week ago, I can hold it pretty comfortably just with my chin, and the rotation of my left hand is starting to get comfortable to the point where I can hold the violin now for about 10 minutes without having to put it down, which is a big improvement over the just 1 or 2 minutes that when I first started. So I've also been working on Mary Had a Little Lamb. And I've been trying to use my pinky finger instead of moving over to the next string over to play the 5th. So that's where the difficulty is. So that sounds nice and clean, but when I try to get the right spot with the pinky finger, it's a little different story. And I've been trying to use that on all of the strings. So moving up to the D string. And the G string as well, which this used to be very hard for me to even finger the G string at all, but now I'm able to get to the G string. So that's kind of where I've been at. I've been happy that I've been able to actually tune the violin without using the fine tuner. The first time I took the strings off and tried to tune the violin, I ended up breaking 2 strings. So I've gone through several sets of strings. That's why I haven't moved up to an expensive set of strings yet. If I'm going to be breaking strings, I'd rather break inexpensive strings. Once I get to the point where I feel comfortable tuning the violin and removing the other 2 of the fine tuners, then I'll probably move up to a nicer set of strings. So another thing I've been doing this week is I started reading about Paganini, the violin virtuoso. So he's a pretty interesting fellow. It's interesting that he was able to play full concertos on just 1 string. So in that respect, I guess I'm kind of like Paganini. I can only use 1 string. But interesting book, interesting history about this guy. And that's about it for this week. I've been really busy with work, and I haven't really been able to practice as much as possible. But like I said, I try to set aside at least 10 or 15 minutes a day, even when I get home from a 12-hour shift, just to touch the violin, play the violin, go through bowing. And it's taking time, but it's a slow process. But sounds a lot better than it did 28 days ago. So thank you for tuning into this episode of Man versus Violin.